Hello, and welcome back to the Being Better Everyday podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have a very special guest, Molly Asplin. Molly is a fellow Minnesota mom of three girls and a true inspiration to anyone navigating big life changes while keeping, hopefully, your health and your wellness in the forefront. After years as a successful Beachbody leader, Molly has pivoted to launch her own community, Dream It, Do It Wellness community, where we will definitely dive into a little bit more about what that actually means. But she is busy empowering busy moms to prioritize their personal health, growth, and fitness, and has been in the shoes of also being in corporate America, which I know many of you listening are as well. So we're going to dive into what being better every day means to her, as well as trusting your instincts and making bold pivots.
I am on a journey to get better in all areas of my life, and I want to do it with you. Welcome to the Being Better Everyday podcast, where we dig deep into all the things a millennial mom needs to know. From how to juggle your passions with your full-time job, to asking the hard questions about hormones and health, and learning from one another along the way. I am Julie Wenzlick, and as a mom, business owner, and corporate girly, sometimes life can feel like a lot. So join me in the journey of being better every day, where we create habits and routines that support your life, create calm in the chaos, and put the you back in your everyday. Grab those headphones, put on your shoes, and join me on a walk while we get started with today's episode.
So welcome, Molly. I'm so excited to have you today. We're going to start right into it because we only have so much time to do today. But the theme of the podcast is being better every day. And for me, that also means, being better every day in life, career, health. On my podcast, I've shared I'm also on a functional medicine health journey. So it kind of goes into all different directions, but certainly something I'm passionate about. So how would you define being better every day for you? And then if I missed anything in the intro, certainly share a little bit more about your background, who you are, as well as you get into it.
Awesome. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I don't think you missed anything in the intro. I have a background in corporate finance. And then, yes, I pivoted into my own health and fitness coaching business. And now I'm pivoting again into my own life coaching, career coaching business. And so there's been a lot of change in the last 10 years, but I think that's good because I think what being better every day means to me is you're constantly growing and evolving and looking back at the prior version of yourself and like seeing how far you've come and seeing like, wow, I'm different now. I'm stronger now. I learned a lot from that. And I just think you can learn so much through all the seasons. And so I think being better is really about growing yourself because I don't want to look back at the Molly that I was a year ago, and you probably don't want to look back at the Julie that you were a year ago and think like, oh, absolutely nothing has changed. It's all the exact same. I think as human beings, we thrive with change and we thrive with, changes that are aligned. And when I look at myself today, I'm like way more of like who I am than I was a few years ago. And I hope that that continues and you just kind of like peel back the onion and really figure out who you are and how to do work and life in alignment with that. So I'm excited to chat more, Julie.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with the whole figuring out who you are, and for me it's also owning it.
Yeah.
Because I shared a reel recently on my Instagram about how I'm an Enneagram 8 and a projector, which tends to mean I'm a little too direct for some people.
I love it. I have a lot of 8 in me as well. It's my second highest number. So
Yeah. So it's just, owning the fact that like I'm not going to change. I would love to be like the fluffy people pleaser in a lot of ways, but at the same time,
yeah.
like, you know what? I will always look out for you as a business owner, as a friend, but I may have, a very direct delivery of it.
I love direct delivery. So I think it's awesome. We 8s can move the needle really fast, right? Because it's like we know what we want and we can communicate it. So
Yeah. And, even as it plays in corporate America, I think it's something where I struggle a little bit with corporate politics.
yeah,
I think all of us struggle with corporate politics. So, there's some pivoting there that is always needed.
for
Um,
sure.
so let's focus on the kind of the wellness, health and fitness side of things first. I think one of the things that I think about, and even myself, so I used to be a Beachbody coach. That was what I did prior to P&W Designs. And when I was active in coaching, I was somebody who loved getting up in the morning and worked out. And it was because I was sharing my journey, it was a motivator to keep consistent. And I
Mhm.
have felt in the last, I mean, honestly, the last year, I'm lucky if I prioritize my health 3 days a week, uh,
Sure.
which is very different than the last 10 years. So for people like myself or others who are kind of struggling with it, what's a tip that you can give to help people kind of balance their health and fitness goals with the busyness of motherhood?
I always just remind myself because I think any busy mom, busy woman who's like, and that's all of us, right? I think everyone gets like hits those moments where it's like, oh, do I prioritize my workout or take a walk outside, or do I get these other 10 things done that I feel like I need to get done today? And it's sometimes it's hard to make those decisions, but I always just remind myself that when I take care of myself and when I move my body for 20 to 30 minutes with a workout, everything else seems to go better. It's like my productivity is higher, my energy is higher, my delivery is more on point. I can get more done. And so I just look at it as almost an investment of my time. It's like, okay, I don't want to do this and I feel like I have no time for it, but it will make the rest of my day go better. It's kind of like planning. I know you're a big planner, Julie. Like when you take that time at the beginning of the week to get your stuff planned out, it's like, okay, now we can just execute the plan. I feel like it's the same thing with your movement and your health practices. When you just take that time up front, you reap the benefits all day long because of it. So that's kind of my driver for taking good care of myself.
And this is a total personal like necessity here, but I also find I'm struggling with, even if I push play because I still, YouTube or
Yeah,
Peloton or whatever,
sure.
I still struggle to get into the workout. Got any like tips for that?
Yeah. Just like feeling engaged with it. Is that
Yeah.
what you mean?
Yeah, like I just want to like be done early then, right? Like I'm not
Uh-huh. I just tell myself like, don't cut corners, get this done. Like
hard talk yourself.
I hard talk myself. Yeah, I like Enneagram 8 myself. Like Molly, just get it done. And you don't have to be, I'm not talking about like being mean to yourself. That's different where you're like shaming yourself. But I'm just like, no, Molly, like get this done, push to the end, don't cut corners. You can do this. And I just kind of talk to myself like that. And I also think, Julie, if nothing is hitting and you're like, these are boring and I don't want to finish and I want to be done early, maybe find something else, right? Or maybe it is like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym in this season, or I'm going to start training for a half marathon or something. Like, also think there's beauty in changing it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had like a motivator or a goal in a while in my health and fitness, and I think that's part of the
That, yeah, I think that's probably definitely part of it. Or, you know this, but have an accountability buddy or have a group or something that you can check off or say, I showed up or I did it. It all works together.
well, so speaking of groups, explain to me what the Dream It Do It wellness community is and like what kind of support can people expect if they're in it?
Yeah. So Dream It, Do It Wellness, I actually created it to be more than an accountability group. Personally, I'm just kind of over the like, let's just drop a sweaty selfie and a picture of my workout or my shake or my food every day. Like, I think that you can really just get caught up in going through the motions. And so I wanted to have a space where career women are coming together and talking about time management, talking about how they're planning their week and what the plan is for dinner and when they're going to get their workouts in for the week and just have a more cohesive space to talk about all of it. And so that's exactly what it is. It's a lot of busy women who have a lot going on, but have made the connection on when I take care of myself and when I have a plan and when I can get my shiz together, at literally everything else goes better, like how I need it, how I want it to go. Better for my kids, better for my work. So those are the kind of conversations that we're having. And then within there is some structure and some monthly challenges. We're kicking off 25 hard really soon, 25 hard pre-holiday challenge. I can't remember when this will go up, Julie, but
I think
there'll
it's,
be
but
November, December, yeah. There will be challenges each month to really give you structure, accountability. So it's like, hey, I have to show up and do this,
Yeah.
check it off my list so that I can, move on. And because I think we all, adults need that kind of reinforcement and that kind of environment too. As much as we're like, I can do it on my own, I know what to do. Well, a lot of us don't do it.
Well,
So
really, I just said that
yeah,
myself.
yeah, you get it. You get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what platform is it on? Is it on Facebook or something else?
No, it's on the Circle app. And so, yeah, it's a $20 a month investment and you can join for as long as or as short as you want. But I like that it's off social media because I also think social is distracting, right? And so this is kind of like that safe quality time space where you can go and learn and feel inspired to take action in your own life and get results in your own life and not just be scrolling the gram or be scrolling Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. Social media limits are a big thing for me. So
Mhm.
I appreciate when things are off of it. Also because then it doesn't take my social media time. Like,
Yeah.
I reserve the right to scroll and I don't want to have to take take that time away either. With your pivot, obviously some of it was a forced. For those who are familiar with what's going on in the MLM industry, there are a lot of network marketing companies that are moving from team-based models to affiliate models, which then obviously significantly impacts people's livelihood.
Mhm.
So for you, I mean, I know it's a newer decision, but what kind of led you to making this particular direction? How did you kind of go about making that that decision?
Yeah, it's interesting because about 6 months ago, I had said I would really like to start creating some of my own things, my own offerings, because I just felt a pull for that. I love the Beachbody platform, but there's a great saying that I like, and it's don't put all your clients in one box. And I felt like I was doing that a lot. I felt like I was like anyone who wanted to work with me, it was like, okay, join my challenge group or join my team, right? Those were kind of the two offerings that I had. And I'm like, but it's not for everyone, right? And not maybe someone has the Peloton or they're, doing other workouts. And so I wanted other offerings. I also feel a strong calling to just go deeper with people because while health and fitness is a very important part of what I do, it's a part of it, right? And there's so much more to me, there's more to you. And so I wanted to help women on a deeper level. All that to say, I had been working on some things in the background, but wasn't able to really get them going due to time constraint and energy constraint because all my energy went into my Beachbody business. And so I think that when this announcement came, it really gave me permission and peace to just say, okay, that has been an awesome experience and it's taught me so many things. And now it's time to use that and to really work in a even more aligned way. And so I don't know if that answers your question, Julie, but yeah, I'm excited to not only get into the wellness community membership that I can go a little deeper with people with, but business coaching, career coaching, retreats will also roll out in the coming months. So I'm excited to design it in a way that feels really aligned and that I feel like I can offer my best service to people.
Well, and I think one of your all unique value propositions is also leaning into the corporate woman because even my podcast, right, as I run a business on the outside, has a lot of my material right now is focused on small business owners. Well, that's only whatever, 50% of millennials have a side hustle. So the other 50% are left behind. And
Yeah,
you having somewhere where somebody who is working a 9 to 5, who wants to only have a 9 to 5, can then continue to grow themselves from a time management perspective, or like you said,
exactly.
career coaching, and obviously health is just a huge part of making sure that we can show up for everything else in our lives.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think that alone, there's a lot there is a need for, and maybe it's my social, but there's a need for the people that are happy in corporate America and or wanting to just stay in a 9 to 5, but also have a community outside. And
Yeah.
that's something that is hard to find. I work from home basically full time now. And
Hmm.
all of my close acquaintances right now have left corporate America. I have no one that I talk to on a regular basis that is working a 9 to 5. And it gets lonely. So
Yeah, that's good. And to your point, maybe that is happy and content doing that, but knows that they can grow in other areas of their life and want to. But it's like that they actually feel pretty content with that particular piece. It's just there's no right or wrong path. But I think it's like we each got to get clear on our own path and be growing in that in whatever ways it looks for us, like for us.
So what, I mean, and again, maybe it's just a scary big leap and you just kind of follow your gut either way, but what advice would you give the woman who feels like they have something else on their heart, right? Or they are wanting to pivot in some way. Is it just, I mean, to me, I'm like, just start. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's your 8 coming out again. Just start. That's it. I think what I love to do, here's a very tactical thing that I do, and I did this a few weeks before the Beachbody news, which is so funny because I just take a piece of paper and I put a line down the middle, and on one side I write, what do you want? And on the other side, I write, what do you not want? And this can be like in life, in your career. There's probably going to be a mix of both. And, some of the things that you might write are like, I don't want, to be working after 5 p.m. or I want to be selling something that I care about, or I don't want a sales related business. Like you'll kind of be on both ends of the, like what you want and what you don't want. Some people are driven by one versus the other. But I think that really helps you to make a clear pivot because you can see pretty explicitly like what's going wrong and also what are you really craving. And a lot of times, like exactly what you're experiencing, Julie, a lot of times it doesn't mean that you need to go quit your full-time job. A lot of times it means maybe you do need another vessel on the side that brings you life and brings you joy, or maybe you need a community, or maybe you need, more in-person time with people that get it. Or maybe you need a retreat, right? Like there's like a lot of different ways to kind of fill the gap that you might be experiencing. But I think that's what helps me to take clear pivots. It's like, what's going well and what's not going well, and what would I ultimately want to create? And then can you take the next right step to start to bring that to life?
I feel like that would be a good exercise, even like as a reflection monthly, or even as we approach the new year, right? Of just like,
Yes.
where am I at with a family perspective? What do I want? What do I don't want? And kind of take it in segments of like, again, career, family, faith, whatever.
Exactly. Do it in segments. That's a perfect idea.
I'm not a huge journaler, but I do bullet points or lists work, right?
Yeah, I agree.
That kind of method.
Gives you a little more like structure to it versus just like a blank page of paper.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
So what other, from a pivoting perspective, right? I mean, I'm just thinking, it sounds like from what you were describing that you were already starting to think about pivoting
Uh-huh.
before the announcement had even happened. So this was just almost like your permission, right? Of trusting
Exactly.
and saying,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of us, like we have something, I bet every listener right now has something in them that's like, I kind of want to explore XYZ. Like it's kind of in the back of my brain. Like I kind of want to do something there. But then for whatever reason, it just stays there. Busyness, life, fear, worry about time, worry about others' opinions, all the things. I'm with you, Julie. I think you just got to start. Like you got to start something in that direction. Put out a free Facebook group. Like get on a podcast interview with someone. Like reach out to someone, say, would you have interest in XYZ? Like just take some action in that direction. And it has to go beyond the journaling, right? Like that journaling exercise is a great like step one. But then step two is like you have to take some kind of action. Otherwise, you will never know. Because sometimes you start the pivot and you get a little bit into it, like 2, 3 months, and you're like, I don't know if this is the exact thing. I actually think it's this. And then you tweak and you reiterate. Like life is just all about iterations. So I think you got to give your self permission to like go try a few things until you quote unquote get it right.
I would definitely, I feel like that describes my entrepreneurial journey
Yes.
in a lot of ways, because for my planner business side of things that I ran for a couple of years, by last fall, I had been starting to feel the nudge of like, I don't know if I want to talk about time management every day. And
Yeah.
although I'm great at it, I'm not passionate about it, right? There's the difference between being passionate about something and just knowing how to do something, especially as a
Yeah.
projector. And then when my friend had reached out and said, "Hey, can you look at this logo? I'd love your opinion because I feel like you're great at branding and creating things in general." That was my gut that I had already had for 6 months. And then she gave me the permission to be like, well, let me just do it for you.
Yeah.
And that's where it started, right? And for you, it was again an external source that kind of was like, no, follow your gut, go for it,
Mhm.
you know?
Well, and I think like your planner business served you well for a season, right?
Yep.
It's like nothing has gone to waste. It's not like you messed up or anything. It's just like, no, it's time to like for me to pivot and go in a new direction. And that's okay. I think that's life. It just means growth and you're starting a different challenge or a different direction.
Well, and it gives you so much good perspective too, because all of these experiences add up, right? So
Mhm.
I have now learned how, I mean, I know what it's like to have a physical product and to try to scale a physical product. No, thank you. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
I
that's
don't.
huge experience. That's a huge experience.
So like we
Mhm.
said, that would be in the note one column of things to review.
Uh-huh.
So
One other thing I was going to share is that how long did you have your planner business, Julie?
um 2 years.
Okay, 2 years. For me, after I started Beachbody, I remember being 1 year in, and I remember having this like direction and vision in the beginning of it. I'm like, this is who I'm going to serve, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what it's going to look like. And I remember getting 1 year in and thinking back on that, or even like looking back at some of my notes, and I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
was really off base. Like, that's not how this went. Like, that actually kind of failed, but this really worked. And so I think it's like just really letting yourself be adaptable and flexible. Because even right now, the vision that I have with business coaching, career coaching retreats, it's like I know that in a year I'm going to look back and be like, that leg of the business worked really well. That one didn't. That one I put to bed. That one I started up. And so you have to be nimble with the pivots that you're making. And that's why it's important to act versus like to sit there and try to gather all the information because you don't know until you start. You just don't.
I I still think it's hilarious, but so I have a business planning kind of workbook. I went through it last year. I created it for myself, right? And then just added it as a freebie on my website. And I will look back when I do my planning for this next year at it. And it's not, I mean, it's a completely different business than it was a year ago, right?
Right.
I
Right.
sat down and I was like, I'm planning my scaling for planners and here's my freebies for it. And I'm like, I don't even have a planner business now. So
But you have something else. And so
yeah,
it moved you in the right direction. So
it
like
really
it
did.
wasn't a waste,
It
you
was
know?
have you heard of Pareto's principle?
Yes.
The 80% of
80
your revenue.
20. Yeah.
So, and that's what it was. I had looked at my revenues derived in 20, what year are we in? 2023. And I had done some design work, right? But that design work was the most profitable part of my entire
Mhm.
business. And even though when I planned out 2024, I didn't plan for it to me to fully pivot into it,
Yeah.
there was some subconscious thing that was like, okay, well, this is the Pareto's principle, right? Product of profitability. Like you need to lean into that. And that's clearly what happened. But
I love that you looked at that and that you're a numbers person because I'm the same way. And it's like we have to look at that too, especially if we're trying to earn a living on the work that we're doing. Like this isn't just a glorified hobby. Like you got to look at the numbers. So
as we get closer to the new year, it's definitely the start of the holiday season. What's your planning process like? Not only for your business, right? Your Dream It, Do It wellness community, but also just, I mean, I feel like you have this wealth of opportunity in front of you. It sounds cheesy, but that's where I kind of look at, feels like
yeah.
you're in the beginning again, right? And so
Mhm.
what does planning for the next year look like for you?
Yeah, that's good. I'm really gonna take it on a quarterly basis
Hmm.
because that just makes a lot of sense in my brain. And so each quarter there will be a focus. And then even within the quarters, I'll break it down by month and I'll break it down by week. And so I will go granular and kind of reverse engineer, but I know generally what my offering is going to be for quarter one. And so I need to work backwards on, okay, what's the goal of that offering? How many people am I trying to bring in? What's the profitability point? And then working backwards on like, well, what does my marketing plan need to be on social media? What does my email marketing plan need to be so that I can actually hit those goals? And then I think if you take it on a personal level, and I don't know if this is what you were asking, Julie, but I also know there's times a year where it's like my my business isn't going to be on as much because I'm a mom of three and I want to enjoy the summer and that kind of thing. So I will have a very intentional business focused Q1 and Q2 and
Yeah.
Q3. Yeah, like summertime. I will probably scale back on the business front a little bit because we're cabining and we're, kids home and things like that. And then Q4, I will ramp back up because I also know the seasonality of my business, just like I'm sure you know the seasonality of yours. So instead of like pushing a boulder up a hill, I really try to lean into those things. And like you said, then you can play on the opportunity so much more when you know this is the time of year where people really want this. So I got to be ahead of that and I got to plan it out accordingly.
Do you do anything, like, do you and your husband do anything from a planning perspective as far as like, what do we want our year to look like or anything like that?
Yeah, we talk a lot about that right now in December. Like we talk a lot about, okay, what are we letting go of? What are we focusing on more this next year? We'll look at like family vacations, like what's that gonna look like? And I always like to like sit down with him right around like New Year's time.
Yeah.
When the kids have gone to bed, our little kids are little, so when they when they have gone to bed and we can just like sit and be focused and be present, it's like what do you want out of the year? What do I want out of the year? What do we want to work towards as a family? Because I think when you have that unified vision with your spouse, it's like the best form of accountability you can have, right? Because it's like you're both on the same team, and we're really big on that. And so even if you go to like Google, because I do this a lot, and I just type in like vision questions with spouse,
Oh,
some will pop up, and I'll just like whip out a few of those questions, and it'll get us going, and we'll both jot things down, and that's kind of the starting point for a lot of my vision is just talking about it with him.
well, at least he's a good participant in that. I feel like my husband is not a dreamer. And
Yeah.
so he's
Yeah.
very hard to like pull any of that out of. But we have found car rides are our best
All
time
right. Yeah.
to do that
Mhm.
because we have a 5 hour drive to our hometown. So
Yep.
any deep conversation we ever need to have, it always happens on the car ride.
Okay,
Because
that's perfect.
you're sitting there, you're stuck. So
You're stuck with me.
right?
Yeah, and it's great that you know that he's not a dreamer. Like my husband is more of the dreamer. I'm more of like the hammer and the executor and get it done. So I think it's also knowing that, Julie, that like maybe you're going to be the one who's going to kind of get his wheels spinning a little more, but maybe he's the one who can be like, this is how we're going to execute this.
Well, and he's I like to come up with things that may not be probable, like immediately probable. And he's like, well, these 5 things have to happen first. And I'm like, so what? Just write it down. Like,
Exactly. Or Steve and I always say, like, don't be a dream squasher. Like, we say, like, before you answer this or before you say anything, just like think about it for a little bit. Like, don't be a dream squasher.
and there's power in allowing yourself to go above what you think is the
Exactly. Hmm.
practical next step. Um, Even if it's arguing with your spouse about it.
Totally. Totally agree.
You are a little bit more, I would say, on the tactical side of
I
planning, right? You are,
am.
there's so much, I am too, obviously, with my planner history, and I'm a very type A person. I struggle with leaning into, I know you've had other people on your podcast as well, but like the subconscious, the belief side of things, right? It is so much harder for me than just the like write it down and I can
And
see.
go. Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to like a lot of the subconscious work. There for sure is. I think when you're looking on a day-to-day and quarterly basis of like you needing to produce for your family, you know, I can't just go like where the wind takes me each day.
Yeah.
Like I have to have a plan. And I just know from my 10 years of my Beachbody experience, my first couple years, it was like, I'm just winging it. I'm just doing it. And it's like, that was cute until it wasn't, right? Like that was cute until I knew a better way. And now I know a better way of quarterly and monthly planning. And then I could show up and execute in my deliverables in a smarter, more efficient way.
I wholeheartedly agree with what you just said, just from a standpoint of even when you are growing a business or a side hustle or even corporate America, like I'm just going to talk about corporate America for a sec,
Yeah.
especially as you go into the new year and there's performance review seasons, you get told by your management
Mhm.
often, here's where you're going, here's what our next steps are for you. And I think having the power to be a little bit more you centric and saying, do I really want that? Right. And having that reflection time is super important, even if you're not pivoting, but just aligning back to what you actually want. Because I mean, I was put into management in my current career and immediately was like, no, thank you. And now I know like I don't want to grow to a regional leadership role, period. I don't want that responsibility. It's not my thing. And there's leaders that tell me opposite, right? And having the power to say, no, like this is what I want and kind of standing in that. So,
Mhm. That's
um, well, as we wrap up today, anything else from, the community, what do you have coming up from maybe, talk about the new year? Obviously, it's a great time to hopefully put some energy back in things after the holiday season, but what's,
for sure. Yeah, coming up, there will be some group coaching opportunities to really get results in your own life, and that's going to look a little bit different for every person, but it'll be small group focus on helping you move the needle with your health, with your business, with your pivot, whatever it might be. And so that's coming up. And what I would just tell your listeners, Julie, is don't be afraid to take some action because the tough part about this time of year is it can be really fluffy. And it can be like I wrote down a lot of plans and a lot of dreams and I got a new planner and I feel so aligned, but then when push comes to shove and it comes to doing the work, you get off track.
yeah.
Or, you kind of forget like what is my goal again? And come February, March, it's like and I'm back to doing the exact same thing, and that good feeling of the holidays has left me. But if you can get ahead of that this year and join group coaching, join something that helps you like stick it and gets you around people who are moving the needle and actually taking the action, you will take the action too, because it'll become your new way. So that's what I would say is like, don't let the dreams live in the planner.
So Molly, one last thing, where can people find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, so behind the scenes, I'm on Instagram at molly.asplin, otherwise mollyasplin.com, and then the Dream It Do It podcast. Like if you liked this listen, you will probably like that. We got a lot of different topics over there, and that's a good place to go listen.
Well, thank you again for joining. I love just having a little bit of your insights and trusting your gut, pursuing what lights you up, and hopefully there are big things ahead, or I should say there are big things ahead for you
Thanks,
and the
Julie.
Dream It Do It wellness community. So thank you again. It's been a pleasure. Let's keep dreaming, doing, and becoming better every day together.
Oh, love it.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Being Better Everyday podcast. Thank you for listening. I truly appreciate each listener. If you've enjoyed the conversation, I'd love if you would leave a rating and review or share it with your bestie to help me reach more women looking to ask the hard questions and live above that status quo. To see any visuals, head over to my YouTube channel. Links, socials, and resources mentioned can be found in today's show notes. If you're looking for more, you can find me on Instagram at julie.pwdesigns, sharing the behind the scenes of my everyday life as a millennial mom, corporate girly, and small business owner. Until next time, keep on taking one step at a time towards your version of being better every day.